Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Nurgle and the Dark Elves. It's going to be myself with Festus facing off against Catholic Alcoholic here, who's going to be coming in with CRONE HELLEBRON James here on the Chaos Dwarf map. Should be quite a bit of fun. Now, as far as the builds go, it is going to be Plague Bears into the Sunset, and the idea is that Festus is going to be able to heal the entire army using the Children of Nurgle and spamming spells. So basically how this works is, every time you cast a spell with Lore of Nurgle, it heals your entire army for 1% of their HP. So 1% of the Plague Bear's HP is going to be a little bit over 100, which certainly isn't bad. So you're just spamming Miasma Pestilence and Stream of Corruption, the two cheaper spells in the lore, to heal your entire army up and really get huge value. On top of that, double Exalted Heroes of Nurgle, amazing. They're basically like mini legendary lords. They have a huge HP pool at over 5,000. I mean, I would imagine it's probably not that much different than what HELLEBRON... Yeah, HELLEBRON's at 7 because she's on a huge altar, but these guys at 5 is very respectable. Armor piercing, great fighters, and certainly can receive some of that healing. A couple Marauders of Nurgle with great weapons. Black Art Corsairs and armor isn't uncommon on the Dark Elf roster, so having the Marauders in the back is going to be the idea, and just using the huge HP pools to absorb the Dark Elf damage. Now for the Druchii army here, I didn't know, because my opponent's a top tier player. I was like, is he memeing on me with CRONE HELLEBRON? Is there some sort of forbidden tech that he's been using? This was actually in the round 4 of a single faction tournament, so I had gone 3-0 with Nurgle up until this point. So this was like a later round of the tournament. And he had also been undefeated as well up until this point. So I was like, man, when I saw CRONE, I didn't know what was going to happen. A couple shades with dual weapons on the side, and it looks like it's going to be Bleak Swords, Black Art Corsairs, a single Dark Shard in the back. And CRONE HELLEBRON does have a couple nice buffs for infantry, but usually fighting Nurgle and melee is a recipe for disaster. Granted, we'll see if the CRONE's going to be able to pull it off. More Corsairs on the way in, and my first call-in is going to be a Soul Grinder of Nurgle, because shades and various other missile pieces is how Nurgle loses. Just getting blasted by missiles unimpeded is how Nurgle can get put up in the trash can, get put in timeout, basically. It's not a good time. My Exalted Hero is going to be juking back here. You know, tempted to go charge in against the Crone Bone, but the Crone Bone, you know, I knew there was some missiles lurking back there. Because, you know, one thing you want to do if you're a newer denomination mode is when you see your opponent's army, and it's kind of like all visible like this, count every single unit, and if it doesn't match up with what they have, then you know there's a couple units invisible, right? So it's some big old MLG tricks right there. Looks like there's going to be a Manticore call-in. Manticore looking to maybe disrupt my push on the side, because I do have a little bit of pressure coming in with the Marauders, which might trade okay with their armor-piercing weapons, and obviously against Dread Spears they would win. But with the Manticore there, that changes everything. But the Soul Grinder of Nurgle is out, and he's going to be dropping some of Nurgle's Pestilent Glory here, hopefully on the Dark Shard. So no direct hits, but respectable, you know, from a long distance. And what I recommend doing with Soul Grinders is scooting and shooting. They're way better at close range, but you want to maximize their, you know, kind of action economy, as you could say, from some of you D&D players out there. But you want to move up and just shoot and scoot and move and get them like kind of like mid-range. That's where they really shine. But that was a very lucky shot right there. It does a ton of damage, and those Dark Shards do get pounded. And we're preparing for the battle now, as we do call in some Warhounds. So Chaos Warhound's going to be looping around the side, looking to hunt down some of the shades. And now it is time for Nurgle's Pestilent Glory as we get ready to push up. Festus is going to be heading in the middle, but gotta watch out. CRONE HELLEBRON can kill Festus pretty easily. Anti-infantry, good combat stats. He's an infantry-sized character, so it's a little bit scary. Stream of Corruption going to be one of the first spells that I do use. Very good against Black Art Corsairs. And Raven's Herald's being called out. Pretty interesting. They're up in the air, but very susceptible to being chased by Furies, so you'll notice I'll be calling in Fury soon. Plague Bears in the front getting hammered, and Stream of Corruption did a ton of damage against those Corsairs in tandem with my other boys. And CRONE HELLEBRON's getting a little bit dangerous. Exalted Heroes of Nurgle hit super hard, and she's the ideal target. So we use Miasma Pestilence, lowering her melee attack a little bit. Manticore coming in, and this is a good opportunity to turn on the Manticore as well. Manticores are strong and all, but they lack armor piercing, and you know, Nurgle champions have 120 armor. Those guys are just absolutely jacked. They're on the juice, 100%. So I do slip some Hounds around the back of the army. He does respond with some Dark Riders, which is a nice play. I'm going to just be diving in on some of the shades, trying to get whatever damage I can. But ultimately I realize he's defending very well and just kind of dip out of that situation. So the Chaos Warhound's going to be running, while the bombardments from the Soul Grinder still doing good work. And the Soul Grinder kind of getting smashed a little bit by the old Raven's Heralds, but rock, paper, scissors, and or old chess, as you could call it. You do get the Chaos Furies moving in, and they should be able to shut down the Raven's Heralds, no problem. And it's not like there's like a Malekith character or someone up in the sky who can really deal with these. They're going to be able to chase those things around all day. So the Goon Squad is still in full pursuit. The Exalted Heroes of Nurgle laying a bit of a hammering on the CRONE bone. Festus has switched to the healing elixirs. Yes, to heal the champions when they run by, but he'll be going to his Mortis engine relatively soon. Fury's still chasing down Raven's Heralds, and those hounds that got away, I was able to outmaneuver the Dark Riders, lure them into some Plague Bearers, come up and through the middle, and now they're going to be moving in onto the Shades, which are starting to take a little bit of damage. One Shade unit is heavily compromised by an overextending Plague Bearer. Granted, not the worst thing to overextend these tanky raid boss units. And the Shades are getting nibbled down pretty hard, while CRONE HELLEBRON is fervently hunted by the Exalted Heroes of Nurgle, pushing through the Bleak Sword, side point being comfortably held by Marauders. For the Dark Elf reinforcements, we are going to see some Dark Riders being called in. Black Orc Corsairs do trade okay into Plague Bearers. Their armor mitigates a lot of the Plague Bearer DPS, but overall Plague Bearers are just happy to be in melee with anything, really. They grind. They certainly do. Their melee defense is great, and their damage output is nothing to laugh at. Now, the objective's still in the control of the Dark Elves. Value lead pretty heavily in the favor of my forces, and that's because of the damage we've done to CRONE HELLEBRON. Here you can see the Exalted Heroes, like Bloodhounds of Khorne, sort of, well, I guess you could say of Nurgle, chasing down ye old CRONE HELLEBRON, and now we're going to be calling in some Toads. The Toads should be pretty good at clearing out these like loose Dark Elf infantry, which have kind of stabilized in many of these fights. Hounds chasing down Shades and missile units, and without those units being functional, it's going to be very tough. Now, as far as Objective 3 goes, I did end up losing that fight. The Black Orc Corsairs beat down the Marauders, but it's not a bad trade from a cost perspective. And here, these Marauders are slowly beating these Dread Spears, but the Corsairs should be able to return and stabilize that objective, and the Dark Elves are still holding on to the middle, but things are getting really chaotic for them for sure. Raven's Heralds are in trouble. CRONE HELLEBRON is not looking to be in good shape. The Bombardments from the Soul Grinders still working on the missile pieces and taking their time, but now, who let the Toads out, baby? The Toads come in, riveting their way in as they do fly and punt some of these units, supported by some of the demons of Nurgle. And yeah, you can't go with shielded Chaos Warriors in this matchup. That type of a build, it was something I wanted to discuss as well. The variance of the Plague Bearers versus the old Chaos Warriors, but I do think the HP on the Plague Bearers is pretty sweet. And they're also unbreakable, and with the healing of Festus, I think that 1% healing really synergizes with the higher HP pool, but I don't know, I wonder which one is like, I'd have to do a little bit more testing. This is the first time I played this matchup in a while. And it's also a very strange way to test it, because most Dark Elf players just have Malekith, or well, not Malekith anymore, but they use the Supreme Sorceress of Dark Magic, and it's basically just Malekith Sorceress, who doesn't have Gaze of Malice and whatnot, and also, Malekith's way cooler. But the fight rages on here, and we do get some Dread Spears moving in. Looks like some Feral Cold Ones looking to party, as well as the Exalted Heroes of Nurgle grind down the Spear units with Mortis Engine support. And the Toads on the side being attacked by Dark Riders, but they should be able to beat Dark Riders no problem. They're pretty hardy folk. They have poison and hit hard, so the grind should go well. And Stream of Corruption is such a good spell. It does so much damage against these armored troopers, and that teaming up with the Toads has been so disruptive. The Mortis Engine is now online, so they're going to be getting drained into the Shadow Realm as the pestilent beasts of Nurgle continue to wear away on the Dark Elf forces. Cold Moon Knights move in for one kind of big push here to try and turn the tide of the battle with their anti-large attacks, which again is not bad in theory, right? I have Toads here, I have my Exalted Heroes, but critical mass is critical mass. Soul Grinders here, the healing and Mortis Engine effects of Festus in tandem with the Toads who have good armor piercing. The Cold Moon Knights just basically get melted, and CRONE HELLEBRON's going to be running for the hills while we do call in some Chaos Furies to chase down any missile reinforcements that may come in. And that, in many ways, is going to be the straw that breaks the Dark Elves' back. They really, really do get hammered pretty bad there. And there are some Corsairs coming in, but when you're behind in value against Nurgle, who's been healing against you the entire game, and also, and doing good damage against you too, it's going to be tough. So we do a little bit of fast forwarding here as we grind down those forces. CRONE HELLEBRON getting unsummoned into the Shadow Realm. Fury's chasing down these Shades with dual weapons, but overall, there's going to be no chances. We just fight on this one point, and we're going to be moving over to the other point. Nurgle Forsaken are really good to call in too. They're a great sweeper unit in the late game if you need fast capture weight. And now the Forsaken going to be heading to Objective 3 as the Dark Elves continue to scrap. But the value difference is big. They're falling behind on objectives here, and it's really just a foregone conclusion. If a game is really obviously over from my perspective when I'm casting, I'll give you guys the same benefit of the doubt, and I'll usually kind of just speed through it, because it's really, I respect you guys too much to just put on a facade like there's still a game going on here. It's really just kind of clean up at this point. As we chase down units, Dark Elves scrap a little bit on the side point. Soul Grinder of Nurgle is going to be pulling its way back over here. Festus Mortis engineering these units down, but really I could win comfortably on 2 objectives, and there's 0 chances that they're going to be able to do it. But good scrappiness for sure from the Catholic here as he moves in with a lot of these Dark Riders, and these Dark Riders as well. But once again, they're just going to be running into a Mortis engine. They have no Lord. The Soul Grinder of Nurgle still kind of bouncing around here, and overall, it's looking to be tough as the Dark Elves basically concave the last of their forces in. but they're going to be getting nailed by AoE effects, Nurgle and Nurgle infantry just flying in from all directions. And that should be the end of the road as we do approach the victory on tickets. And now we can also start to play objective number 3 if we want to. We sent a couple of Nurglings over there. Coldland Knights coming out, and yeah, Manscore trying to grind it out. GG, well played. I know that was a lot of fast forwarding there at the end, but it was really just over, and there wasn't really much to comment on other than Dark Elf units just trickling in and dying. But yeah, so I played in a single faction tournament the other night with Nurgle, and I just was like, I'm just going to play Nurgle tonight. And man, they actually felt pretty good in a lot of matchups. I ended up going 4-1 and losing with them in the semifinals of the tournament, but they had a good performance. It was against solid players too. So yeah, I was very happy with them, and it kind of gave me some hope for Nurgle in the future for sure. Exalted Hero is insanely good. Festus a hard carry, and Plague Bearers just absorb things. It's really what they do. Soul Grinder is good too. Against missile heavy builds, he's nice, and having a terror piece is good because by going with Festus, you're kind of giving up a big terror causing lord like Kugat. So. Yep, GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We'll see you on the other side. Well played to my opponent. He tried to crone me. It wasn't crone in time, but maybe her day will finally come. We'll see. GG, guys. See you next time, and take care of yourselves.